In yesterday's video, we explored how the Superhuman Gambit can end if we choose to side with the antagonizer. And we explored all the many ways to anger her so that she attacks. But there is another way to resolve this quest, and that is to confront the Mechanist. We learned where to find the Mechanist, and we learned a bunch of background information about him while talking with the residents of Canterbury Commons. The Mechanist was formerly a resident of the town named Scott Bean Walensky. One day the antagonizer came into town and her ants destroyed his favorite robot. He was then convinced to become a superhero to fight the antagonizer by a young boy of the town named Derek Passion. He then left the town, taking over an abandoned robot repair center on a hill overlooking the town just south of it. The Fallout 3 official strategy guide tells us even more information about Scott. He got his nickname Bean because his father sold him into slavery, and the caravan merchants who bought him paid for him with beans. His father was a bean farmer and had a horrible, hard life. He didn't sell his son for the money, or the beans, but he saw the caravans as a way to get his son away from the bean farm, to give him a better life. Many years later, Scott bought his freedom and settled down in Canterbury Commons to work as a mechanic. Now, we can choose to confront either the antagonizer or the Mechanist, or we can choose to confront both. To find the Mechanist, we follow the road out of Canterbury Commons to the southwest. Eventually, we find a gravel path to the southeast that climbs up the side of a large pile of rock. At the top, we inexplicably find a parking lot because there's no road that leads here. How did people before the war get their cars up here? Well, they must have. We find one car in the parking lot. Before the war, this was known as Darren's Discount Electronics. Heading inside, we immediately catch the attention of a sentry bot to the west. Back at the entrance, we see a pathway to the north. We can loot a desk and some containers here, and then turning around, we see some Protectron charging bays, but there are no Protectrons here. I wonder where they went. Moving west into the room with the Securitron, we can loot a Nuka-Cola machine, and then inspect the cubicles here. The cubicles are mostly empty, none of the terminals work, save one. On this terminal, we find Note from Frank. I can't take it anymore, Bob. I don't trust those turrets in Sector A. I swear I saw one track me the other day when I left work a little late. If that thing opens up on me, I'm screwed, since the bastard feds suspended workman's comp as part of the war effort. Hell, Snake helped me smuggle in some pulse grenades that I kept locked away in a box under my desk. I tried one out on our handy at the house, and the missus nearly killed me. Knocks him out like a light. If you ever need one, just grab the key from behind my terminal and use it to unlock the box. You can't say I never did anything for you. See you around, buddy. Oh, and stop throwing those staples over at me. They get on the floor, and you know how I like to take my shoes off during the day. Ew, taking his shoes off at work? Well, that gives us a hint that his cubicle was right next to this one. Heading on over to the terminal at the other side of this divider, sure enough, we find a locked box under the desk. I then hopped up to try and find the key. He said it was behind the terminal, but it wasn't there. I never did find it. So reloading a previous save, I came back to the terminal while avoiding the sentry bot, and there it was. I suppose during the fight with the sentry bot, the key must have been knocked into a wall or shoved below the floor or something. Anyway, the box under the desk is only locked with an average lock, so we can pretty easily pick it. And sure enough, after picking it, we find a stash of 6 pulse grenades. We'll go ahead and equip these. Sounds like they may come in handy. None of the other cubicles have anything of interest, so opening the door to the bathrooms to the north, we don't find anything until we check the stall. Here we see that someone has booby-trapped the toilet bowl. We can disarm the trap to collect the microfusion cells. The only other door in this room is to the north, but it's locked with an average lock. After picking it, we arrive at a huge manufacturing floor. And sure enough, the turrets mentioned in the terminal are still active all these years later.
Where? Help me! We'll get him. Ugh.
Okay, pulse grenades are effective, but take a bit of precision. I was afraid I was going to kill Clover there. With the turrets and robot destroyed, we can begin to loot. In the middle of this ground floor, we find a bunch of tables and shelves with all sorts of stuff. Ammo canisters, toolboxes, a copy of Nikola Tesla and You next to a broken Protectron, more ammo boxes, and even some railway spikes in some of the boxes. There are quite a few destroyed Protectrons we can loot for scrap and some ammunition, and when we finish exploring the factory floor, we can open a door to the north. This leads to a tiny workshop, scrap on a desk, first aid kit on the wall, and a terminal next to the first aid kit. This is Sector A terminal. After hacking it, we find note from management regarding Sector B. Memo, attention warehouse/repair employees. Please make sure that the main platform in the repair section is properly raised before releasing the repaired bots from their pods. All units receive firmware programming to make their way up to the main entrance and await pickup. Let's get them there safely and not repeat last week's accident involving a Protectron falling to the lower level. That error cost us time, money, and was an embarrassment to the company and our DCTA account client. DCTA, District of Columbia Transportation Authority? Backing out, we find an option to shut down the turrets in Sector A. Well, if only we found this sooner, they are already destroyed. We find a staircase to the east, leading to the top of this vaulted chamber. At the top, we find a door to the east, which leads to a room that we can look right through to find another large workshop on the other side. And here we find all sorts of robots. With the robots dead, we can explore this rectangular room. Turning around, we notice a door to the southwest. This brings us out on a catwalk at the top of the last room we explored. And at the end of this catwalk is a floating pod. Inside, we find a new terminal, Sector A Emergency Terminal. This terminal has the same messages as the one we found in that little building below, with one new one, a whole bunch of gibberish. When we select it, we get the message, Invalid Decryption Key. Backing out of the terminal, we see a desk nearby, and on the desk, a miniature floor safe, locked with an easy lock. After picking it, inside, we find the Sector A encryption key. With the encryption key in hand, we can access the terminal again, and the final option now becomes activate emergency pulse explosion. Uh-oh. This is a handy way to get rid of the turrets instead of shutting them down or attacking. Too bad I already got rid of them. To continue exploring, we can turn around where we find a doorway to the south. This leads us to the Mechanist's Forge. On the other side of the door, we find ourselves in an office. There's a ruined Protectron on the ground and a copy of Lying Congressional Style on a nearby desk. We find some filing cabinets, another desk, and in the northeastern corner, we find a coffee station with coffee mugs and a coffee brewer. That sounds good. I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee. Whew. What? Activating the coffee brewer opens a secret door, but it's not open all the way. To continue opening the door, we have to activate a gear covered in 10 numbers inside the door. Clover, what are you doing there? Come on. It's supposed to be a super secret room. Well, somehow Clover got on the other side. This is the Mechanist's private chambers. This is the secret shortcut way to get here, and it bypasses a very hard locked door. But there is another way to get there. Back at the rectangular room, just after we destroyed those robots, we find another terminal on the wall. The terminal on the wall nearby has exactly the same notes we read in the last one, though it does let us shut down turrets in Sector B. Wish I would have checked the terminal before I just shot them all. So moving into the factory, we can loot the sentry bots, and here we find a bunch of Protectron charging bays. We can open each one of them. Sometimes we'll find a functional Protectron, and it's not hostile, it'll just walk around. Other times we find already destroyed Protectrons, we can loot them, and still others are completely empty or broken. We find a shelf with boxes and toolboxes to loot, a desk, and then crossing a catwalk to the northern side, we find another desk with a terminal on top. This is the repair sector terminal, but it has the same note that we read in the last two terminals. We can then go through all of these Protectron charging docks, release the peaceful ones, and loot the broken ones. We find one final terminal on an iron freight elevator girder. We find the same note, but also an option to operate lift. This is the lift management was talking about in the message. We find two options to raise or lower the platform, but both times it says unable to locate the platform. Well, sure enough, peering down, we see that the platform is on the floor. Looks like 200 years has not been kind to the platform. But that's it for this section. To continue, we go up some stairs to the south and exit through a southern door. This brings us right back to the entrance. This leaves one thing left to explore, an elevator we passed on the western wall. However, it's locked with a hard lock, and there's no key in the game to unlock it. So after picking the lock, we can take the elevator up to the Mechanist's forge. We arrive in a small room with a few boxes to loot, and then we can open a door to the west. This leads to a tunnel lined with strings of lights, and as we emerge at the end of the tunnel,
What are you doing in here? How did you get past my defenses? Did the antagonizer send you? Speak now, citizen, or I'll be forced to detain you until I can ascertain your true motives.
we can say, I've had enough of you and your silly costume. Get ready to die.
Why, you aren't a citizen at all. You must be a vile minion of my arch-nemesis, the antagonizer. Obviously, we must battle at once. I'm afraid I can't allow you to persist in your evil plans. Percival, attack this villain.
The Mechanist and his Protectron Percival both attack us. Or we can get him to attack on sight if we approach him while wearing the antagonizer's costume.
Aha! Vile antagonizer. You've got a lot of moxie invading my private sanctum. Pretty courageous for a spineless insect. But this is as far as you go. Now it's time to put down the foot of justice and crush your nefarious plans once and for all. Hey!
Clear the area.
I'm glad that's over.
On his body, we find his unique Mechanist costume. And his weapon, Protectron's Gaze. Though I only find it on the body here because I have a modded game. In an unmodded game, we only get this weapon if the Mechanist gives it to us by siding with him. When fully repaired, the Mechanist's costume has 20 DR and weighs 15 pounds, the same as the antagonizer's costume. But its stats are slightly different. Strangely, even though Derek told us that the suit makes him smarter, we don't get an intelligence bonus. Instead, it grants us +1 to endurance, but like the antagonizer's costume, it costs us 1 charisma. The Mechanist's helmet has the exact same stats as the antagonizer's helmet, 6 DR, and weighs 5 pounds. Protectron's Gaze, however, is much more interesting. Like the metal blaster from the Pit DLC, it shoots multiple laser beams, 5 to be exact. However, it's still inferior to the metal blaster because it has a slightly slower rate of fire, 3 compared to 2.5, and its magazine is smaller, 20 compared to 30. So the Metal Blaster is a better weapon, but it's a rifle, and Protectron's Gaze is a pistol. The fact that it splits into 5 beams makes it one of the most powerful laser pistols in the game. It deals the most damage of any laser pistol in the game. When all beams are combined, it deals 24 damage. But like with the Metal Blaster, each beam is considered its own projectile, so each of them can land their own critical hits, making this one of the most devastating pistols when used in sneak mode in the entire game. But assuming we don't want to kill him outright, instead of insulting him, we can say, "I've come to help you get rid of the antagonizer."
Oh, well, in that case, welcome. Welcome, dear citizen. But an ordinary citizen no longer, eh? You'll be my sidekick. I hereby grant you the title of Mechanolass. Well then, my trusty chum, shall we prepare to defeat our nemesis?
We can say, "Let's put an end to the antagonizer once and for all."
In all of my time against the antagonizer, I've never been able to get to her vile sanctum. But with your cunning aid, I'm sure we'll both be able to penetrate her fiendish nest with ease.
Or we can say, "Whatever, I just want her dead so I can get paid."
Oh, well, I suppose the ends justify the means. I mean, it's not the most heroic of reasons, but killing the antagonizer is a noble act, regardless of the motivation, I guess. In that case, wait! My sensors are showing that the antagonizer is attacking the forge. She must have followed you. Quickly, she's already inside the front gate.
And with that, the antagonizer attacks. One ant finds us all the way up the elevator. But to find the rest, we have to take the elevator back down to the ground floor. Just like last time, it's possible that both the antagonizer and the Mechanist will die in this kerfluffle. Providing a convenient way to dispose of both. But if the Mechanist survives, when next we talk with him...
Excellent work, Mechanolass. Now that the vile antagonizer is defeated, all that remains is to destroy the shell of her evil. Bring me the foul antagonizer's armor, and we can do what must be done.
He, too, wants his enemy's costume. Well, looting the costume, we can head back to the Mechanist.
Well done! You have defeated the vile antagonizer, and you've brought back her suit so that we may destroy the last taint of her villainy. Hand it to me, and I'll make sure that no one else can ever bear the mantle of the foul antagonizer.
Why do you want the suit?
I can hardly leave it lying around for someone else to find, now can I? The threat of the antagonizer must be put to an end forever. I must not let her threaten all that humanity holds dear. Even now, twisted souls may seek to continue her legacy.
You don't need to worry about this suit. There are other threats out there.
Were it in any other hands, I would worry, but I know I can trust you, my faithful sidekick. Now I must return to tending my robots. Canterbury may be safe, but I must now look to the rest of the wasteland. The antagonizer may be gone, but if the world is ever threatened again, the Mechanist must be ready.
With that, we keep the suit, but we lose karma. Or we can say, if you want the suit, you'll have to take it from me.
If violence is my only recourse, then violence it shall be.
In which case he attacks, but we get both suits. Or we can say, here, you can have it, just move on and leave Canterbury alone.
Excellent. The evil taint of the antagonizer will never darken the land again. Now that the antagonizer is taken care of, Canterbury Commons is safe. And for your loyal assistance, I'm honored to present you with this laser pistol, crafted from my last loyal robot assistant. May it guide you well. But the Mechanist cannot rest. Not while there's evil afoot in the wasteland. Farewell.
With that, we give him the antagonizer costume, but he rewards us with Protectron's Gaze. Or we can say, wait, first, let's talk about what you've been doing.
Quickly then. Evil never pauses to contemplate its actions. so I see little reason that we should either.
My mistake, never mind.
Quite all right. Now, give me the antagonizer's suit, so that its evil may not fall into the wrong hands.
Or we can continue to try to talk him down. This dumps us back into the dialogue tree we could have accessed when we first confronted him. So heading back to the moment before the antagonizer attacked, we can choose the option to say, I'm just here to talk. We can find a peaceful way to stop this fighting.
I realize you mean well, but I'm afraid you're being naive. The antagonizer is a madwoman, and the only thing that will stop her is force. As much as I wish peace were an option, the antagonizer is too deluded, too inhuman to listen to reason. Sadly, sometimes the scaly claw of tyranny must be destroyed by the cold, unfeeling pincers of justice.
Why did you become the Mechanist?
Long ago, I was a mere citizen like yourself. Beyond a talent for computers, I had no power in this world. But then the antagonizer attacked and killed someone very dear to me. The damage was too much for me to fix her, but I knew what I had to do. That tragedy burned away the weakness of my previous life, and in the fires of revenge, the Mechanist was forged.
Killed someone very dear to him? Damaged too much to fix her? Oh no. Don't tell me that Scott here went crazy and became the Mechanist because the antagonizer damaged his fembot. Oh, it's almost as bad as Fisto. Well, we can pass an option to say, you just want to keep fighting the antagonizer. You're as bad as she is.
Lies, slander. I'll never let you compare a noble hero like myself to that base villain. But now it's all clear to me. You're an agent sent by the antagonizer, using your honeyed words to trick me into letting down my defenses. Well, the jig is up. Prepare to face the burning lasers of justice, evildoer.
In which case he and Percival attack. Or we can join forces and say, I suppose you're right. Maybe we can work together.
Aha! That's the spirit, chum. You seem quite capable. You got to me after all. You can be my official sidekick. I'm afraid I don't have another suit, though. But we can deal with that problem later. We've got bigger ants to fry. Now, how to proceed?
There's bound to be a peaceful solution. I'll try to convince her to give up.
The antagonizer does not listen to reason. She does not understand true human emotions, like mercy or love. She's nothing more than an animal, and you can no more talk her into surrender than you can play chess with a mole rat. But I will not stop you from trying. I only hope that you live long enough to learn the error of your ways.
And with that, we can leave peacefully to go off and confront the antagonizer. But our only option to get the Mechanist to step down is if we pass a speech check to say, the fighting is causing more trouble for the town than the antagonizer ever did. Or if we have the Child at Heart perk, instead we find an option to say, your fighting is scaring people in town, and it might hurt little Derek. Or if we have the Black Widow perk, instead we find an option to say, darling, your fighting is scaring the whole town. Won't you stop for me? The Black Widow option overwrites the Child at Heart option, which in turn overwrites the generic speech option. And that's because no matter which of these options we choose, the Mechanist has the same response.
Is that true? Have I really become a threat to the town? Do you really feel that way? Am I really the villain here? Does this mean I should stop myself? I guess I could just give up my suit and stop being the Mechanist. But I couldn't face the town after causing that much trouble. Here, please, take the suit. I don't want to think about it anymore.
And with that, we gain karma. He gives us the Mechanist costume, but not Protectron's gaze. And strangely enough, even though this is his lair, the Protectrons we removed from the pods are hostile.
I'm sorry. Just leave me alone. I've got a lot to think about.
Heading back up to his quarters, we can loot the place. We find microfusion cells and scrap scattered all over the place, a Nuka grenade on his workbench, a footlocker with more railway spikes inside. Next to this, we find another shelf, and interestingly, if we don't turn him hostile, Percival lies on the ground deactivated. We can loot the energy cells from his wreckage. But like with the Antagonizer's lair, here we find a queen-sized bed that the Lone Wanderer can use. And since it's pretty easy to get in and out of this place, it's a viable location for a player home. To complete the quest, we need to head back to Uncle Ro. Now remember, we only had to get rid of one of them. No matter which one we got rid of, Uncle Ro has the same response. We can tell him that there won't be any more fighting in the streets.
Excellent. Without him, the Antagonizer should be on her way, and Canterbury Commons is safe again. Relatively speaking, of course. Now, I do believe this is our agreed-upon payment for your fine services rendered. Thank you once again.
And with that, we complete the quest, and we get 400 bottle caps. If, when accepting the quest, we passed a barter check to talk him up. But if we manage to get rid of both of them...
That's grand. I do believe it's fair to say you've saved Canterbury. And unlike that Mechanist, you did so with significantly less stress all around. Now, I do believe this is our agreed-upon payment for your fine services rendered, and a little bonus as a special thank you.
We complete the quest, and he gives us a 200 cap bonus. We walk away with 600 caps. And with that, we complete the Superhuman Gambit. Which do you think is the best way to resolve it? Is letting either of them go peacefully really the best way to finish this quest? After all, who's to stop them from creating new costumes in the future and terrorizing some other new community? Also, how did the Antagonizer pacify the ants? That's never really explained in this quest. She somehow had the ability to control them. Is she a psyker? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I publish many videos each and every week here on my channel, so if you want to make sure you don't miss my next episodes, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I've got a brand new shirt in the shop. That's right, it's everyone's favorite evil villain from Fallout 3, Eulogy Jones. This shirt celebrates a fun running gag we had in a series I recently completed on Eulogy Jones. You can find this design on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. It comes on a bunch of other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, mugs, posters, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. I'm becoming more active on Twitter. I use Twitter to respond to viewers and I make channel announcements, like if I'm about to go out of town, as I said recently on Twitter, or if a video is going to be late and I have to skip a day. So if you're active on Twitter, I encourage you to follow me at Oxhorn. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more brand new videos.